Welcome, warriors. Welcome, broken souls turned unbreakable. Welcome to the edge of your rebirth, to the doorstep of vengeance, dressed in discipline, wrapped in fire, and sharpened by silence. This is not a place for forgiveness, not today, not for them. This is where the storm begins. You came here carrying ashes in your heart. From dreams they set on fire, from dignity they ripped apart, from trust they stabbed without mercy. But let me tell you something that will crawl into your bones and burn like gasoline. They made a mistake, because they forgot what happens when someone like you survives. You see, they thought they buried you, but they didn't know you were a seed. They thought they broke you, but they didn't see the steel hidden in your soul. They didn't notice the rage sleeping behind your kindness, the wrath chained under your forgiveness, the storm that kept whispering to you at 3 a.m. that one day they'll pay. And now that day is no longer a whisper, it's a war cry. You are not here to heal, not anymore. You're here to rise, with every scar turned into armor, every betrayal into a blade. What they did to you was deliberate. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't lie to yourself. Don't wrap poison in politeness. They saw your light, and they hated it. They envied your heart, your hope, your hunger. So they tried to hollow you out, tried to rewrite your worth with lies and silence. They laughed when you cried. They smiled when you bled. They shrugged when you begged. And then they walked away, proud, smug, victorious. But they left something behind, a fury, a spark, a seed of vengeance that was never meant to bloom. But it has. And now it's growing into something monstrous, something majestic, and it bears your name. This world, this cruel, cracked world, it doesn't reward kindness unless it's backed by power. You learned that the hard way. You gave, they took. You forgave, they repeated. You begged, they ignored. You shattered, they watched. And now they'll pay, not out of spite, but justice. Not with violence, but domination. Not with noise, but with results so loud they won't sleep. You're not here to get even. You're here to rise so high they choke on your shadow. Don't be ashamed of the rage. Embrace it. Let it guide you. Let it teach you how to endure, how to rebuild in silence, how to become the very nightmare they never thought you could be. This is not about revenge that burns everything. This is about becoming so untouchable they'll wish they never knew your name. You don't need to scream. Your success will do that for you. You don't need to confront them. The empire you build will haunt them without a word. Let them see what they created. Not a victim, not a survivor, but a weapon made of wounds, a legacy carved in pain, a legend born from betrayal. Let them taste the bitterness of your name in their mouth every time they realize you didn't just come back. You returned like a god of war wrapped in silence, crowned in discipline, armed with purpose. You didn't lose. You were forged. They underestimated you because you were kind, because you trusted, because you believed in them. But the game has changed. That version of you is gone, and in its place stands a force they can't predict, control, or crush. They should have left you alone. They should have never turned love into a weapon. But they did, and now that weapon is pointed at them, not with bullets or blades, but with victories, with evolution, with transformation so terrifying they'll regret the day they tried to break you. You were soft, and they thought that was weakness. But softness is power too. The power to bend and not break. The power to bleed and not die. The power to feel everything and still rise. They didn't understand that your silence wasn't surrender. It was strategy. They didn't see that your retreat wasn't defeat. It was rebirth. And now That rebirth is complete, and it comes with fire in its lungs, thunder in its heartbeat, and the names of every liar, every betrayer, every ghost etched into its bones like sacred fuel. You owe them nothing, not a word, not an explanation, not a second of your peace. They chose what they did. Now they'll live with the result. You, rising. You, building. You, shining. You, unstoppable. This is your vengeance. Not with hatred, but with results. Not with violence, but with transformation. They thought you were done? They thought you were broken? They thought you would disappear? No. Now they get to watch you grow into something they'll never reach, never touch, never forget. And that is how they'll pay. And that is how they'll pay. Not with blood, not with screaming, but with the sound of your footsteps echoing through every place they told you you'd never walk again. With the silence of your name no longer whispered, but respected. With the thunder of your greatness shaking the same ground they used to laugh on. Every breath you take now is a threat to their comfort. Every move you make now is a promise carved from your pain. You're not just surviving anymore. You're conquering. You're turning every scar into scripture, every wound into wisdom, every insult into iron. They thought they could erase you, but you're not a memory. You're a movement. You were quiet once, but now your silence roars. You were humble once, but now your ambition towers. You were gentle once, but now your strength shatters illusions. They thought you were soft clay, but you were granite, and their hands only revealed your sharpest edges. They didn't create a victim. They awakened a god of discipline, rage, and quiet revenge. They will see you now, not because you demand it, but because you'll make the kind of noise that needs no voice. You'll build something so high, so undeniable, that their ignorance will collapse under the weight of your success. You'll rise in rooms they said you'd never enter. You'll win battles they thought would destroy you. You'll wear your scars like war paint, proof that you were tested, not defeated. You don't have to go back and confront them. That's not the point. Let the past rot where it belongs. Let them sink in the prison of their own lies. You're not here to prove anything to them anymore. You're here to prove everything to yourself. Because you were there, on the floor, alone. You were the one who cried in the dark and wiped your own tears. You were the one who held yourself together with nothing but grit and madness. And now, you're the one who deserves to rise like hellfire. You remember the night they betrayed you. You remember how cold it was. You remember the silence, the confusion, the anger that swallowed you whole. You remember how they looked at you like you were nothing, like you didn't matter, like your love, your loyalty, your presence was disposable. That memory? Keep it. Lock it in your chest like a burning coal. Because from that pain, from that single moment of shattering, comes everything you're about to become. They gave you nothing, and now you'll create everything. And they'll watch. They'll watch without access, without control, without understanding how the hell you got so far without them. That's their punishment. Not being there, not being invited, not being remembered except as a footnote in your story, a warning in your rise. They'll say you changed. Let them. That's the point. They'll say you're cold now. Let them. They never respected your warmth. They'll say you're obsessed. Let them. They weren't there in the silence when obsession was all you had to keep you going. You've earned the right to be everything they said you'd never be. You've earned the right to harden, to build walls, to be ruthless with your time, your energy, your future. Because what they did with you was unforgivable. And now, you forgive yourself for letting it go on so long. You forgive yourself for believing them, for needing them, for trusting them. But you will never forget. That pain is your compass now. That betrayal is your map. And that rage, that's your engine. That's the fuel they left behind in your chest. And now it's turning into fire so hot, it'll melt every limit you once believed in. Let them live with their choices. Let them rot in their comfort. Because the pain they caused will not break you. It will build you. Brick by brick, bone by bone, you're becoming the version of yourself that they feared the most. The one they tried to stop. The one who doesn't beg. The one who doesn't shrink. The one who doesn't wait to be chosen, but chooses. You walk into every room now like you belong there, because you do. You train like no one's watching, because you know the world will watch soon enough. You grind in silence, you suffer in discipline, you sharpen your mind, your body, your soul, because you are no longer rebuilding, you are reclaiming. You are taking back what they tried to steal, your worth, your fire, your future. They'll try to say you're bitter. Let them. You're not bitter. You're focused. You're not angry. You're awakened. And you're not petty. You're powerful. Power doesn't need revenge. It needs evolution. It needs transformation. And that's what you are now. Transformed, forged, unstoppable. So let this be your vow, to never let what they did define you, but to use it as proof that even hell couldn't hold you, as proof that you walked through fire and didn't just survive. You came back holding the flames in your fists. You came back holding the flames in your fists. And now you burn with purpose. No more chasing approval. No more asking for understanding. No more bending so they can be comfortable while you collapse. You have one mission now: become untouchable. Not for revenge, not to impress them, but because the version of you they tried to kill still breathes, and that version is finished playing nice. This world doesn't respect weakness. It respects results. You've suffered. Now, make it mean something. Turn that betrayal into brilliance. Let your scars scream louder than their words ever did. Let your pain guide your focus like a blade across glass. Sharp, controlled, patient. You are not impulsive now. You are calculating. You are cold where you must be, warm where you choose. You are the storm they never saw coming, and while they sleep peacefully in the world they tried to exile you from, you grind. You build in silence. You arise in shadows. You don't need to explain. You don't owe anyone closure. You owe yourself glory. Because every tear you cried was an investment. Every sleepless night was training. Every time you held back your anger, that was discipline being born in your bones. And now that discipline will become your warpath. They laughed when you were silent. Let them choke on the silence you now weaponize. You don't speak, you execute. You don't react, you calculate. You don't seek justice anymore, you embody it. What they did with you was meant to leave you empty, but it made you endless. Because once you've had everything stolen and still found the will to rise, you become terrifying to those who live in comfort. You are not their victim. You are their unfinished consequence. The reminder they never expected to resurface. The echo of their betrayal sharpened into results so undeniable, so loud, that even their lies can't outtalk your name. They buried you in silence. Now your voice is a thunder they can't mute. Your presence is an earthquake, and you're still rising. Don't lower your standards anymore. Don't shrink yourself to fit inside spaces that treated you like noise. You were never the problem. You were never too much. They were simply too small. And they feared you'd realize it. They knew what you were capable of before you did. That's why they tried to kill it in you. That's why they lied. That's why they gaslit. That's why they abandoned. Because a person like you, loyal, relentless, pure-hearted, is dangerous when awakened. And now, you are wide awake. Let them hear the footsteps of your return. Let them feel it in their chests when they hear your name, whispered in rooms of power. Let them flinch when they see your face tied to things they can never touch. You don't even have to confront them. Your existence will do the talking. And the most brutal revenge is healing so hard, leveling up so relentlessly, that they become irrelevant in the empire you build. They'll watch you from the sidelines, aching with the knowledge that they had access to you and destroyed it. Let them rot in the comfort of people like them. Let them live small while you climb mountains. Don't waste another ounce of breath trying to make them understand. They don't get it, and they're not meant to. You are not here for understanding anymore. You're here for domination, for evolution, for becoming something so unstoppable that even the universe has to stand back and make room. Every failure, you'll turn it into fuel. Every insult, a chisel to shape your unshakable discipline. Every time they said, "You'll never," that will echo under your feet when you walk across the stages they can't reach. They built a cage around you and called it love, called it guidance, called it truth. But they were afraid, because freedom looks dangerous to people still trapped in their own weakness. And now you've broken out. They don't get to know this version of you. They don't get to shake your hand when you win. They don't get to claim your victories as some product of your pain. No, you didn't win because of what they did. You won despite it, in defiance of it, in rebellion to the version of yourself they tried to freeze in trauma, and you will never go back there again. Let them have their false peace. You have real fire. Let them hold on to small circles. You're building legacies. Let them tell people you've changed and say nothing. You don't defend your evolution to the people who caused it. You let your life speak. And when your life speaks, it will roar with power, with glory, with the sound of a soul that refused to die when everything told it to. You are not bitter. You are finished pretending to be weak. You are not vengeful. You are done apologizing for how loud your strength is now. You are not lost. You are becoming. And every step forward is a slap to the face of every lie they whispered behind your back. They didn't believe in you? Good. That was your escape. That was the beginning of your real story. Their rejection was your redirection. Their silence was your sanctuary. Their betrayal was your rebirth. And what they did with you? Unforgivable. And now they'll pay. With the distance, with the silence, with the empire you build that never lets them back in, they will pay. And not the way they expected. There will be no screaming, no slamming doors, no tear-soaked letters begging for closure, no arguments, no explanations, nothing. Because the new version of you doesn't operate in noise anymore. You don't fight to be heard. You build so loud that your silence drowns them out. They don't get access. They don't get to know. They don't get to come along now that you've stopped bleeding for them. They had their moment, their chance, their time to stand by you, and they threw it away like you were replaceable. They gambled everything you gave and bet on your destruction. And now you're going to give them exactly what they asked for. Your absence. Not just physically, spiritually, permanently. The pain they left you with, that pain was your awakening. The silence they buried you in, that became your forge. And every night you spent staring into the void, questioning your worth, wishing for answers, thinking maybe it was your fault. That was the old version of you, the dying version, the one they could manipulate. That version is gone. dead and buried in the ashes of your lowest moment. What rose from that grave isn't fragile anymore. It doesn't cry for closure. It doesn't need apologies. It walks tall, alone if necessary, with eyes like storms and breath like fire. You owe them nothing. You owe yourself everything. You will never again hand over your peace like it's disposable. You will never again trust people who flinch at your ambition. You will never again explain your fire to people who only wanted you dim. Let them live in their mediocrity. You are done playing small to fit inside their fragile comfort zones. Because the truth is, they didn't break you out of hatred. They broke you out of fear. They feared what you could become if you ever figured it out. And now you have. And now, they're going to witness it. You're going to walk into every room like your presence alone is prophecy. You're going to speak less and build more. You're going to outlast, outwork, and outgrow them in every way possible. Not because you want to rub it in their face, but because you refuse to live small just so they feel big. You will no longer explain your glow. You'll just let it blind them. You will no longer defend your passion. You'll just let it create empires. You will no longer fight to be understood. You'll just let your work speak with a volume their words never reached. And when they watch, because they will watch, through fake accounts, through mutual friends, through whispered conversations they pretend not to care about, they won't see someone bitter. They won't see someone obsessed. They'll see someone who healed so hard that they're unrecognizable. They'll see someone who turned isolation into focus, betrayal into transformation, rock bottom into rocket fuel. They'll see someone they never deserved to know. You're not afraid anymore. That's what terrifies them. You don't chase. You don't ask. You don't need validation. You're dangerous now. Not because you hurt others, but because you can no longer be hurt the same way again. They broke the version of you they trusted blindly, but in doing so, they unleashed the version that watches everything, that moves with intention, that doesn't play and never begs. You were broken, but now you're built. Built from betrayal, built from silence, built from the kind of inner chaos most people don't survive. You didn't just get back up, you reconstructed. They hurt you once, but that wound turned into wisdom, and now that wisdom is weaponized, not against them directly, but against the limits they planted in your mind. You don't have time for their opinions. You don't have energy for their excuses. You're too busy building your empire brick by brutal brick. And when you get there, when your name echoes in places they said you'd never reach, when you become the version of yourself they swore couldn't exist, you won't even need to turn around. Because their punishment isn't watching you succeed. Their punishment is knowing they'll never touch it, never share it, never stand beside it, because they threw it away. And you finally saw them for what they are, temporary, weak, unworthy. Now you move differently, you speak less, you train harder, you rest deeper, you guard your energy like it's sacred, because it is. You learn that lesson the brutal way. You don't let everyone in now. You don't carry people who can walk. You don't set yourself on fire to keep cowards warm. You became the version of yourself they hoped would never show up, the one that doesn't need them, doesn't miss them, and doesn't apologize for either. You're becoming the kind of person they write about, not the hero, not the victim, but the force, the storm, the silent, cold vengeance of a soul that refused to stay shattered. Let that fuel you. Let that echo through your bones when the nights are quiet and your past tries to speak again. You are no longer who they broke. You are the lesson that came from it, and now they'll pay.